In this video, we're going to have a look at converting ordinary numbers into standard form. The numbers that we're going to look at are considered small because they're less than 1 and typically have lots of zeros at the front, so 0 point something. In the bottom right corner, you can see an example of what standard form looks like. The first part is always a number that is bigger than or equal to 1 but less than 10. That means that it cannot equal 10. This is made up of the key digits from the original ordinary number, disregarding any zeros that appear before these digits. The next part is always a multiply by 10, followed by our power, which in this case is going to tell us how many times to divide our original number by 10. Our power can be both a positive or negative whole number. However, because we're only considering small numbers in this video, our power will always be negative. Because the power on the times by 10 is negative, this is why we look at how many times to divide instead of multiply. Let's have a look at some examples. In my first question, I'm asked to convert 0.02 from an ordinary number into standard form. First, I need to consider the key digits of the number 0.02. This would be the number 2. That's because it's the only digit that comes after the zeros at the front. Now, because 2 is already a number which is bigger than or equal to 1 but less than 10, I can leave it as it is. The next thing is to write the multiply by 10. And the final part is to think about how many times I need to divide 2 by 10 to get the answer 0.02. Now, there is a trick for doing this, which is to simply count the number of zeros that appear at the front of your digits, including the 0 at the start. So this is 1 at the start and 1 after my decimal point. Because I was dividing by 10 instead of multiplying by 10, I need to make sure my power is negative, and then I can put a 2, which is how many zeros were at the start of my number. This means that my final answer is 2 times 10 to the power of minus 2. Looking at my second question, the key digits are 9 and 4. Because I need this to be a number between 1 and 10, but not 10, I'm going to put a decimal place between the 9 and the 4 to get 9.4. Next, I need to put in my multiply by 10. And finally, count the zeros at the front to find out my power. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And it's a negative power because I need to divide by 10 4 times. In the third question, my key digits are 3 and 7. And I can put a decimal point between them to get the number 3.7, which is now between 1 and 10, not including 10. Next, I need my multiply by 10. And finally, my power is going to be minus 1. That's because there's 1 0 at the front of my number. Remember, the power is negative because it's telling us how many times to divide by 10 instead of times by 10. In my final question, the key digits are 8, 0 and 1. So I'm going to put a decimal point between the 8 and the 0 to get 8.01. This is now a number bigger than or equal to 1 but less than 10. Notice how in this example our key digits include a 0. That's because it comes after the zeros at the front. The next thing we need to do is put in our multiply by 10. And then count the zeros at the front of our number, which means our power is going to be minus 3. Remember, it's a negative power because we're dividing by 10 instead of timesing.